What's going on, everybody? Looks like we're live again. Happy Tuesday. Thirsty Tuesday. Huh. Yeah, something like that. So hope everybody's having a good week and staying warm. Like we got a little more snow coming in today. Always nice. Let me know how the audio sounds. I might do a little mic check here after I get all these links saved out and do a little comparison to see which of these mics sound better. If this new mic sounds better, if it's not, I don't know. I got it because some people are having a little trouble hearing me at times, so I don't want that. So let me pull the links. Clint, you in here? There's Clint. All right, there we go. What's going on, Scott? Scott's first in, man. First one in the steel house. What's going on, Carl? Good to see you. Audio says, I wonder, I'll do a mic test. I'm going to compare this mic with the old mic here in a little bit, and we'll see which one works best, and if this mic was a good investment or a waste of time. I don't know. We'll find out. But I'm going to share the links. Make sure we got the right link. I don't know if it sounds any different than the other one, if people be able to tell the difference or not. But I'll go from one mic to the other mic back and forth, and they can see. Let me get these links shared out here, and it won't take long. Facebook put the squeeze on me again. They were letting me share a little bit more than usual. Now it's back to 12 or so. And I'll share it with a few other pages at 9, if I can remember. So what's everybody's weather like today? Ours is, well, it's pretty nice and warm today. Got up at 39 heat wave. But now it's back to 30, 31 or 2. It's not real cold and snowing, so. Got to get these links shared out. So I'm not able to see any comments. So if you have new people, bear with me. It always happens at the very beginning of the podcast that I got to share the links to different Facebook pages, friends pages, and stuff, and spread the love, spread the message. That way, a lot of people in different groups, if they got questions, they can come here and they won't get browbeaten or laughed at or condescended, or people say, "Oh, that's the stupidest question I ever heard." This Mark's page. Let me make sure he's not live. He's not. Cool. Yeah, Mark's back to, I think he's working on Saturdays again. That sucks, man. His work schedule's crazy. I guess flex shift, he changes work shifts every, I think 12 weeks or so. Every few months, his days change. So sometimes he has weekends off and sometimes he don't have it. But he's got a pretty cool job. I wish I could talk him into bring some of his work home with him, but I don't guess he can do that. Those that don't know, he prints lotto tickets. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, that would be cool. Of course, it's for the other states. It's not for the state he lives in. So, well, they get scratch off. They just run off scratch offs on a machine, but that's pretty cool. So I got a few more. Then they'll cut me off. Try to do the larger groups first if I can. And get the word out to more people and get more viewers that way. So bear with me. We're about done. Let's see. That's probably about the last one they'll let me do. We'll see. Maybe they're going to be lenient again. Doubt it. I don't know. I usually can't get that many. I think I'm on 13 now, so let's see. Knock on wood. Maybe we'll get a few more. Be nice if I just do my, I think it's like 16. I'll share too. If I can. Hope I didn't just jinx myself. No, so far so good. Maybe they're being friendly again. Because we are a good show. You know, we're promoting a good thing. We're promoting safety, hobby. A lot of people like it. A lot of people watch the show. And I'm not monetized, so they don't have to pay for it. So they like that, I'm sure. I'm hearing some people get money. I don't know. I've never heard of it. Any money being offered me, and I get a lot more people watching, so I don't know. Maybe I'm not doing something right. I don't know if I've gotten the YouTube notification yet. I usually get that was actually a Facebook notification. Damn, they're up in their game. They're getting on the ball, man. That's good. Good. Oh hell, I'm already behind 10 minutes. All right, let me go through here. What's going on, O'Sheen? Unless I'm feeling bad or out of town, that's the only two things keeping me off here. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm gonna in a minute here when I get all these, I'll do a back and forth test between the microphones and we can see which one sounds better. And I just, I bet in the past people are like, I can't hear you very well, and I don't know if it. Sometimes I mumble. Appreciate you, brother. So this is the new one. Yeah, it was pretty. It for the money. It's probably one of the best rated microphones. I did all the reviews, went to consumer reviews, and all this stuff, and awesome big 55-gallon mash. You can, yeah, you can freeze distill it first. Take some water out, sure, absolutely. High 18 today. We were a little bit warmer. We got in the 30, up 39, I think it was. But this whole next to this week is going to be warmer, so hopefully we can start seeing this ice melt off. But it's snowing right now, so there's that. Let me see what you got. Damn, big long message I sent somebody. Yeah, it's about 34 and snowing. This one cool off real quick. Well, it's 33 now. But yeah, let's see. This week it's going to be today 41. We actually got up to called for 41. I don't know if it actually made it there. It was 39 when I seen it at the highest, but it might have got a little bit warmer. But 29 tomorrow, high 27, 38, 29, 42, 45 towards Sunday and Monday. So look good. I'll take it. Lowest temperature would be tomorrow night at 11. After that, in the teens and 20s, I'll take it. That's all right, brother. That's what we're here for. That way, we won't be talking about other stuff that we don't need to be talking about. Did it? Got a lot of animals. I got one. I don't know where he's at. I've got outside cat, and I guess his girlfriend now too. She's kind of we've adopted her, but he's semi feral. But I tamed him. It took 7 years, but I got him tamed now. This year's first year, he'd come up to me and let me pet him, and then he's got this girl cat coming around, and of course having him up there and let me petting him, and she sees that, and she'll let me pet her while she's eating, right? Uh, and she doesn't want to act like she knows it's me petting her. She's funny, but she won't come around and she won't let me pet her unless she's eating, right? Or loving on Tomboy. So, but I don't know. They ain't been in his house tonight, so I gave him a little tote and put a little heat pad in there for him. Not like we have heat pads for pets. And I don't know if the thing ain't working or not. It didn't seem very warm, so they may have found a warmer place. But it's not going to be too bad for an animal. So how's it going, Cave Daddy? Damn. All right, let's got a question. I've heard Sweetwater is worth it to add to hearts. Um, there's a mixed opinions on that. Some people like to use them, some people don't. I save them and I'll use them sometimes. Seems to add some flavor. It depends on what the distillate is too, and for brandies, probably yes. For like a sugar shine, I don't know if it'd be worth it or not. But it's something that you can proof with that adds a little flavor and still has some alcohol in it, and it doesn't cloud up as much as. And it's fairly acidic. It's already been run. Uh, so it's not going to cloud up. It's not going to, give you precipitates and things like that. As opposed to like if you ran tap water and put that in there and you have high alkaline water or well water that's high alkaline, that can cause little snowflakes to appear. Basically, it's saponification. It converts the fats to kind of like a soap. So if you ever have some that tastes like kind of soapy, you might want to check the water that you proof with. It might have some alkaline in it, but some people like to, some people don't. I like to run, my tails down, and if I'm running the tails down, I'll go ahead and save some sweet water, and it's okay to fill a little shot glass, half of your 150 proof, and then half of that, and have about a 75, 80 proof, and just taste it and see what it tastes like at that, or add about a third back to it and get it to 100 proof, and that you would normally do, and taste it and just compare that to just water and see if you like it or not. There's no set rules, but it is worth it to run your tails down. Whether you save your sweet waters, that's getting pretty low, and it really depends on what you're using. If you're using electric, then yeah, you can run them down. You're not really going to have that big of a cost to make your sweet waters. But if you're using propane, it's something to think about because it's going to cost you a little bit more in gas than it might be worth. I don't know. You just have to experiment, test it, and see. Some distillates will be a little better than others, but save them in case. And like I say, always do your little test run. Fill you up, get you a double shot glass, and fill it about halfway with some 150 or whatever you got, and then add a third to that. And you can get 100. Add half, you get 75. Right. So you can kind of see what it's going to taste like at 75, 80, or 100, and how far even you want to proof it, or if that's going to work or not. It's always good to experiment like that until you get happy with the proof. That's because some flavors kind of pop at certain proofs, and sometimes they get lost as you proof it down, and sometimes flavors comes out as you proof it down. So it's always good to test each batch and to see what proof works best for it too. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Grains will always be a lot smoother. And it's the types of sugars. You're getting more of a natural sugar than like your pure cane sugar that's processed and stuff. It's just a different type of sugar converted, and there's oils and there's what do they call them? Here goes my mind again. Um, Glycerols that you can get from vegetables that you're not going to get out of a straight. So a lot of natural glycerols and other chemicals in there that help. And you say chemicals, but it's just natural, right? Everything's chemicals. Our bodies are made up of chemicals, right? The element chart, there's our body, right? Um, but I think the glycerols and a lot of other things that are in the grains and stuff help make it smoother as well. Kind of like um, grain versus sugar versus like fruits and stuff. Those are going to be a little bit better too and smoother than the sugar because of the natural components in the fruits itself. What's going on here, Billy? Good to see you, brother. Yeah. If the variables are the same, yeah, it's going to be a little smoother. What's going on, Morgan? Good to see you. Yeah, and good point, Clint. Yeah, it's a lot cheaper too to get your sugars from corn than from a bag of sugar, surprisingly. What's going on, Wayne? Good to see you, brother. Hope everything's doing well down there in Arkansas. Y'all staying warm? A little colder than normal down there this time of year. I heard they got some snow in Florida even. Well, we kind of talked about that when Alan was on here, and pot stills can add flavors, but it can also muddy flavors, right? So you can get actually too much flavor if that's what and it gets too muddled and too much, and it's not good a lot of times. So it's sometimes better to have a cleaner spirit with that a little bit of that flavor than to have too much of it and it just not be good. But it depends on the distillate. A lot of people run different stills based on what distillate they're running. But speed and consistency, quality, and efficiency, and economy, all those come into play for a commercial distiller that a home distiller and a craft distiller don't have as much uh, you know concern with, right? So they're doing much larger batches. They got to fill lots of barrels a day. So speed and efficiency becomes a big part of their decision making on what type of still to run. But they're both for different things. You can run different things. Reflux definitely if you're getting a higher proof and vodkas. Pot stills. A lot of people like the pot still whiskeys and brandies, and but that's not. I mean, most of them are running columns. And it's just for efficiency, speed, and quality, and a good, clean, consistent spirit. And cost. It's hard for us at home to put together a nice big fractional distilling column versus a pot still. It's just a simple, cheap, old traditional way of doing it. But is it best? Best is always speculative when it comes to things like that, and it depends on what you're talking about. Best economically, probably not. Yeah. If you're looking at the cost of the steel, yeah, it's very economical. But if you're looking to fill 100 barrels a day is not going to be probably the best way to go for you. You can do it either before or after. If you're doing like gins and stuff, most of them will do it, during the distillation process. It's not like it's put in the mash. Sometimes people will. I mean, it's just, there's no rules. The rules are out the window. So it's a very creative craft. It's a craft. That's why they call it craft distilling. So there's really no set rules. There's certain guidelines that you got to follow, of course, for safety, and there's certain things that generally don't work, like too much of a certain spice, and they're definitely something that you'll learn as you go. But most of the ones that add the spice, like for gins and stuff, use a gin basket and infusion, and a basket in the infuser. Or you can put it in the cap, or lots of different ways to do it and pull different flavors and I guess concentrations, will vary based on infusion. Tends to be a little more concentrated than just like hanging a basket in your cap, right? Because your distillate's literally running through it and you're forcing that steam over it versus just a basket hanging in the cap. There's a lot of steam that really don't come into contact with it as much. So, it just depends. But yeah, and you can do it after. It just depends on what you're doing. You can steep it, and it might give it some color. Most people aren't offended by color anymore. Used to. Everybody wanted that clear, only way. But these days, people don't mind it as much. They don't care. They go on taste, right? Does it taste good or not? Will I like it or not? And I think we're going to have to break away from getting the clear out of our heads too, because the tastes have changed. I read a report the other day that there's fewer people drinking these days than there have been in the past 90 years since they've been keeping track of it. And so, that's another reason that you're seeing some industry changes is, there's fewer people drinking, and there's lots of reasons for that. Legalization of marijuana, alternative beverages. A lot of people are vaping now instead of drinking. They just got that vape pen going all the time. Everybody has their own little addictions. But I think vaping and marijuana has a lot to do with it. They've just changed taste of, they're intoxicant. They prefer that over the other. So more people smoking weed, less people drinking, maybe. Millings. Um, the stocks and cob. I've heard there's corn cob tea and corn cob wine and corn cob shine. I mean, cobs are fine. A lot of times you'll get them in your cracked corn anyway, whether you like it or not. If you do, you probably might find a better quality cracked corn. But yeah, stocks have sugars in them. I think Wayne was talking about that, and Amanda were talking about that. And I think somebody asked him about that, maybe, and maybe somebody when Alan was on here. But yeah, you can press stalks just like you do, sugar cane. You can press the corn stalk and get you some sweet juice out of it. Might be a good idea to render it down, kind of like you would a tree sap, right? For maple, like for the syrup, that'd probably help it out a lot. Rendering it down some. But yeah, and the cobs, there's some sweetness in the cobs as well. So yeah, you can grind all that up, and like I say, you get a lot of that in your cracked corn anyway. So, but it's I don't know, it's a little harsher to me. I think when you have it in there, but there's well, there's cobs now, not the stock. The stock sugar, that's probably going to be a lot better than just trying to ferment with the cob. So I think you might get a little bit more cellulose in there, and if you get some cellulase going on, it breaks down that cellulose and make a little bit more, might be a little more headsy, maybe. What's going on, Terry? Good to see you, brother. Yeah, having a pretty good day. Every day vertical, man. It's a good day. What's going on, Morgan? Good to see you, brother. Did Shadow sneak in here? I didn't see Shadow comment yet. I miss you. Well, let me try to get caught up so we can check this mic out. I'm already 15 minutes behind. Yeah, you can run reflux on a pot still, so it doesn't have to be a continuous column. You can get reflux. Reflux is just, you know, condensing and redistilling all in the same process. So there's reflux columns, there's reflux on pot stills, there's lots of different refluxes. So yeah, me too, man. There was a time. I guess I still could if I wanted to make some new caps for my old stills, but I got my caps stolen, so I'd have to make new caps for them big boys, and I don't know. I may just use them for mashing. Boiling water, they're great for boiling water vessels. Yeah, corn cob shine, corn cob wine. Yeah, I hear a lot about rhubarb. Rhubarb wine is good. We can find you some recipes, but yeah, rhubarb wine. I love me some rhubarb pie. My granny used to make some killer rhubarb. They had it growing there at her place in Mamaw Justice. She used to have some good rhubarb. No, I mean, 55-gallon fermenter is different than the steel, right? So you can have a 10-gallon steel and a 55-gallon fermenter and basically just take out 8 gallons at a time and run it, right? And have that ready for the next time you want to run. That way you don't have to mash in and run every time, and you get more consistency that way, and you don't have to work your ass off every time you want to do it, right? So that's what I've been preaching. You can have a bigger mash barrel and it'll keep for a long time as long as you keep it covered, and keep the critters out and keep it in a cool, dry place. It'll be fine. But there's no rule says you just can't dip in there and it clears, settles out better, and you just dip in there and pump out ever so much, man. And my allergies are acting up, my nose itching like crazy. But yeah, you can just pump you out, 8 gallons for your 10-gallon steel or whatever, 18 for your 20, whatever you got, and just you know use and do that. It's just a lot less work mashing in. So no, it's as long as you got enough something to boil your water, to steep in, and that's usually the problem most people have is having something a vessel large enough to boil your water in. And that's a lot of times people use their steels for that, because a lot of times that's the biggest vessel they got, that they can boil water in. So it gets double duty, right? It doesn't have to match. Yeah, you don't have to match the size. And if you do get a big steel drum, it's great for boiling water in. So you can put some electric elements in there, a big huge burner at the bottom, or wood or whatever, and it's great for boiling water. To and use it to, get your boiling water and just pump it over to a plastic barrel and add your or a cooler, whatever, and kind of make a mark in it to so many gallons, pump it over, and 20 gallons, and here's 50 pounds of corn, for 20 gallons, 2.5 pounds a gallon, you know, and or 25 and 2, but somewhere along those lines, maybe 20 and add 5 to keep it hot. You know, it works real well that way. And that, having that, just like I was saying, a lot of times people's limitations is the pot that they actually can boil water and have enough water to steep in. Some people step steep, right? You have to do a little bit at a time, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that either. You can do that 3 or 4 times in a day and dump it all in a big barrel once it's converted, and add your glucose and yeast at the end, and nothing that says you can't do that either. No, I haven't. I'm waiting for it to warm up because it's going to take longer, right? And I want the conditions to be pretty much optimal. I want to be in the high 70s, down in where I do it, and so I can keep it regulated and see how long it takes at a normal temperature. And but I'm thinking about doing some sour mash with it, right? So if I can keep adding the grains and it just always keep converting them with like Alan and I and Clint talked about that the cloned koji or whatever that might be in there, or some new something new to convert. Just keep converting. If Alan said it would do that, so just keep adding it in there and keep converting. That'd be awesome, right? It will take some time, but then again, if you've got a bigger fermenter and a smaller still, it can be working while you've running, got something else, another barrel that's ready and just dump, that you can go from. So you kind of cycle them and work too. Yeah, yeah, and slowly. Yep, proof down slowly, and make sure you don't have high alkaline water. That high alkaline water a lot of times is where people mess up. Especially people with well water and areas of limestone and stuff. Great for distilling, great for mashing in and stuff. It's awesome for that. But when it comes down to proofing, it's not that good for that because that mixed with the oils. That's how you make soap. Is mixing the oils with high alkaline uh, lies or whatever, an ash. So if you can prevent that, and like when he's talking about adding it slowly, helps keep it from clouding up too. Thank you, brother. Yeah, a lot of people, are mixed on it. I keep it and I like it, but I'm not going to say yeah. What's going on, Benny? Good to see you, brother. How y'all doing? Staying warm? I know y'all got a little bit of snow your ways this past week. Yeah, people are mixed on it. Some people, hate it. I think they're stuck on the sweet part. They think it's actually literally sweet, and it's not technically sweet. It's just got alcohol in it, and it's a neutral kind of. It's not tailsy, so it starts getting good again. But yeah, I like using them, but it just depends. Yeah, I hope everybody's still there. I hope Benny's. I'm sorry, I'm behind, brother. Shit, I'm already about 15 minutes behind. Yeah, what's going on, Kenny Parker? Good to see you, bro. Um, yeah, you can use maple sap as the water, but again, maple sap is there's not hardly any sugars in it at all, right? You have to refine it. You have to boil off the water to get to the sugar and continuously cook it off for a long period of time. So if you do that to your corn water, you can get some sweet. Let's scroll back and see what we were talking about. I've talked about 5 different things since then. Oh, for your brandy, yeah. For brandies, it's good to use infusion. I'll just put that out there to save some of your fruit, puree it up real good, get it, or you can use just a concentrate, right? A frozen concentrate. Sweeten it up a little bit and put that in your infuser, and it'll pick up some of those flavors from your fruit and carry over pretty well, and it helps a lot. It helps. like I say, if you make a brandy and you can tell what fruit it was made with, that you're doing good. It's a lot of times it gets distilled to the point where people just like, I don't know, it tastes good, it tastes fresh, clean, but I couldn't tell you what fruit it was made from. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just doesn't have the character of the fruit. If you want to maintain the character of the fruit, A, use more concentrated fruit juice, and B, try to infuse with some. So you've distilled it. You didn't like go from a neutral, run a neutral through an infuser. You can pick up some that way, but if you start with that fruit and then you infuse that same fruit, you'll get it on the nose and on the palate, right? So you'll get it. It adds a little more character and a little more taste. Yes, sir. Should be. And hopefully someday, well, some places it is already. Yeah, maybe not federally, but statewide. So, I don't think I think our world has so many more things to worry about the way it is than somebody at home making their own whiskey or vodka or wine or beer or whatever. I know wine and beer is legal in most states uh, and federally, but I think we got to worry more about people running bio labs in California garages and stuff. Did y'all hear about that this week? Some dude got busted. I never heard the follow up. I don't know what it was he was making. It could have been just something mundane and simple, and they just blown it out of proportion, or it could have been some, bio weapon he was making. Hell, I don't know, but I never did hear the follow up. Yeah, it is good shot time. Tuesday shots. Back off a little bit on the Tuesday shots. Like in weekend shots. Well, let's definitely be dropping the bomb out of that one. 130 proof. A little blackberry and pine. Pretty good combo. Yeah, I can't wait for spring, man. I can't wait to get going with some grains, getting some corn, and I think they do. I think they like what I was saying, the cellulose in them. Uh, I think they do make a little bit more. If you get the cellulase going on and it starts breaking down the cells. There was something else we were talking about. Pectic enzymes. A lot of the pectic enzyme just isn't pectinase. A lot of times the most of the pectin enzymes are mixed with the cellulase as well. So it's got a pectinase and cellulase and probably some other enzymes as well. And it's to increase the fruit production. So they get at the pectins, they break down the pectins with the pectinase, and then they break down the cellulose to open up the cell walls to get to the sweetness inside the cell. So these cells store a lot of these sugars and sweetness to help give the cell energy, right? And so if they can break that cell wall down, they have to have the cellulose for that. So a lot of the pectic enzymes that are used commercially these days are used along with each other. And another thing a lot of people don't realize is those same enzymes are used in waste production. So poop and other things in a lot of these places that are cleaning up our water and stuff. They use a lot of these enzymes to break down fecal matter and help neutralize that and break it down into better stuff that I guess could be used in fertilizers and other things, and make it a little bit safer to dump. And I don't know, but yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of xylanase too that's used for that, but I think it does make a little bit more headsies for that reason. But I don't mean like substantially more. When I say more, I don't mean double or a huge amount. It's not a lot, but it's going to be notable between maybe not versus having it. And for somebody that's able to make real tight cuts might notice it. Somebody not wouldn't probably notice it. But if you get into a groove and you know that X amount of this corn gives me X amount of this, keep everything under control as much as you can, laboratory controls, you get more consistency. And once you develop that consistency, then you would probably notice, wait, this is has a little more heads in it than normal, and if you snuck some cobs in on them, they'd be, oh, so that's what it was. But it's not going to be substantial. 7 for 50 pounds. I mean, right now you can get yellow dent corn for that at Bucky's, from what I heard, $7 or $8 a bag. So, you know, something to think about. But yeah, it's that's half the cost of corn, right? And I think you get a little bit of those in your, like I said, in your cracked corn anyway. But I don't know. I'd say if you were doing huge batches, you could probably, like if one of those bags out of 5, bags of corn ground up and mixed in with 5 bags, it kind of, be like a little corn helper or something, just kind of help it along, and might sneak it in and be a little less noticeable. I'd say if it were like 50-50 or all one of those bags, yeah, you'd definitely notice a difference in taste for sure. But yeah, you can, and $7.50 is actually, that's expensive if you know a farmer. If you know a farmer, shit, they'll fill you up a tote for $10. They'll do a lot. You can take 55-gallon drums. What do we figure out, Clint? Like 300 pounds of corn will go in a 55-gallon drum. What was it? Close to that, I think. Thanks, a little over 300. Yeah, 300 and 400 pounds, between 3 and 4. Yeah. Here it says generally 300 to 350, but up to 400 if you pressed it and packed it full and tight, and kind of vibrated, I guess, as it's getting loaded and it packed in tight. So between 3 and 4, 350, But yeah, you got to think about how hard that's going to be to move around, though. It's not like you're going to be able to carry that out of the truck. Much better if you got it in 50-pound bag, or 50-pound bags. But yeah, you can pull your truck up and they'll pull that conveyor right over, and you can fill up the whole bed of the truck for cheap, man. What's going on, Brian? Good to see you, brother. Doing pretty good, man. How about yourself? So I think if you were to let it sit, I think just basically it separates a little bit, but because it's bonded together, right? So it's not like oil and water. So you're not going to get like all the alcohol at the top and more water at the bottom. I wish it were that easy. But I don't think it does that. It won't do that. It's not, because it's bonded. It's in solution together. Great grandfather never let nothing go to waste. He's making moonshine. His cobs. Oh yeah, I mean they used corn silks and all. But yeah, that a lot of times it was silage basically chopped up, and some goes into the silo, some goes into the mash bucket, right? Yeah, yeah. I have some cousins that used to raise sugar cane, so yeah, you could always press those stalks out with a press like that and get that juice out and refine it. Yeah, it is, man. I've got Discord for gaming and stuff, but it's a lot, man. It's so much to take care of. If I didn't have nothing else to do, I probably would, but it's like that's what we got the Facebook group for. You can jump on there and ask you questions, and we can kind of hang out and do everything on there. So, Facebook's, more people use Facebook. It's a little bit more user friendly, considerably more user friendly than Discord. That's different crowd on Discord, usually younger. You know, um, and it's not as easy to use. Like, you just jump in the group on Facebook, boom, just type a question right there in the group, and but Discord's cool. I like Discord for, chatting with groups and gaming together, and we all get together and chatting there as we play. It's kind of fun for that. And I got some friends that stream and stuff, and we'll play together sometimes. But yeah, it's just too much. I just it's all I can do to keep up with the Facebook groups I admin and moderate in and answer questions in there as I can. So we try to route everybody to DIY Shine and Steel Building or the Moonshine Militia, so we can take care of them there. Go on, Moonshine Herbie. What's up, James? The best water. Everybody's got the best water now. I don't know, man. There's a reason all these old moonshiners and major whiskey makers came to Kentucky. They say Kentucky's got the best water, and I tell you what, it's got more running water than any state in the continental U.S. Think about that. And Kentucky has more running water than any state in the continental U.S. Alaska has more, but it's not continental. It's north. It's attached to Canada. uh, we like our buddies up there in the Great White North. Hope everything's going well up here, brother. I just, yeah, I wouldn't worry about sanitizing. I mean, you can use maple sap, maple water, refine it, sweeten it up, and use it. Um, but what you probably want to use maybe a rum, maybe a rum yeast with it, because when you do heat it up like that, it gets a little caramelized and gets a little complex. So um, there's some enzymes in rum yeast that'll help break those down. And yeah, we got a lot of friends from Canada on here. We got quite a few from the Great White North. How's it going, Tanner? Good to see you, brother. Yeah, reverse osmosis is it's great for proofing, but you want some minerals to be in there for the fermentation process. So you need calcium, right? So there's nothing wrong with running reverse osmosis water and then supplementing it with, some. I guess you could throw those eggs, those not eggshells, the oyster shells we talk about all the time. Eggshells, calcium carbonate as well, but you have to deal with those a little bit more and clean them up. But yeah, RO water's fine, but you just have to add calcium and it wouldn't hurt to put some minerals back into it. Actually, mineralized water is probably one of the best as long as it's not fortified with iron or having iron in it. But if your water's really bad, if you have high iron water, then absolutely. But most other water will be fine, without the RO. But if you have a lot of iron or something in there that's not good other than just chlorine and chloramine, you can, the chloramine you can't get rid of, the chlorine you can. But distilling, distilled water works great. Spring water is the best thing. All right, here we go. For someone wanting to get into distilling, what's a good place to buy a small test still? Don't want something that's got capacity for a big volume, rather something that's easy to run and clean. I would say the favorite football still would be, or a keg still. Um, and here we go with the pictures. You know me. I love my pictures. It's worth 1,000 words, and it helps identify things for people. And my PC's slow tonight, man. No match for my search. I wasn't searching anything. What the hell's going on here? Damn, I had to click all files. Wow, that's the first. That's freaking me out. Like, what the hell? Okay, so company called your browser is having trouble sharing your video. Can this happen with files invalid? Files not invalid. What kind of shit's going on here, man? Oh, maybe I hit video instead of. That would explain some things, maybe. Derp. Let's see here. And the picture that was there a minute ago is not there anymore. So let's have a look, see if I can. PNG. There we go. Wow. That was a little more complicated than it's ever been, but this is called a football steel. These come in like 10, 13, and maybe 15. I'm not sure. I think 10, 13, and 18 and a half tenor. And really, between the 13 and 18 and a half, it's only like $20, $30 difference. So I always recommend getting, of course, the 18 and a half. And you can run 15 gallons. And that may seem like a lot to some. It's fine on your stovetop. It's fine on a turkey fryer. So, you can run it either way. You could run it on wood, but you have to really be conscious about the heat, and how even. But it's a great little steel. It's a good starter steel. And it's the problem is, Tanner, most people, they'll start with a 5 gallon steel because they are very inexpensive, $100, $120, and boom, boom, you're ready to go. And it all looks great until you have to start making modifications because those little 3-pot beavers, everything sits right on top of the steel, which is bad. Everything's undersized. The thumper's undersized. The condenser's undersized. And it's just, it's you're going to have some work to do right when you get it right. And it's just not fit the way it comes. It will work. It's very difficult to run. It's very difficult to make your cuts. Your water you have to deal with your water a little more than you normally would. You're condensing water. You have to keep it cooler than you normally would, and it's a constant problem because it's an undersized condenser. So, starting out with something like this, a little bit bigger, but you won't make that step because everybody buys that 5 or 10. Once they start doing it, they get a quarter to a liquor and they're like, damn, this is awesome, but it's a lot of work for a quarter to a liquor, and really when you're doing larger volumes, it's not like twice the volume, it's not twice the work, right? It's just a little bit more work and you get twice as much, right? So that starts coming into play. And it's like, really, if I'm going to grind the corn, it won't take me that much longer. If I've already got the grinder out, I've already got the corn out, I'm just going to do a few more scoops, and I'm doing now double the scoops now. So that doesn't take much longer. Okay. So I'm going to have to boil twice as much water. That might take an hour or two longer, but it's not like it's laborious. You're just sitting there watching the grass grow and the water boil, right? Waiting on the water to boil. So it's a lot more rewarding. You get a lot more product out of it that way. And like I was talking about earlier, it's, you can go with this, or you can just, find a beer keg. You can make a good little steel with a beer keg, and you can put, you can get Phil Billy or Wayne or somebody to make you a little cap to sit on it, or you can, get you a little column to put on there with a little deflator and shotgun condenser, and, put you some copper mesh in there to help remove some of your sulfites, and that works out pretty well, on top of a beer keg. You know, a lot of people like me, you know, have issues with it's hard to clean a beer keg. So if you know somebody welds, you know, you can weld you on a 4-inch, you know, ferrule on the top, and that way you can get down in there and clean. And it's a little easy to clean. It, you know, that was my biggest issue with a keg when I ran one. It was just hard to clean. I didn't have pressure washer back then. Now they got pressure washers and rotary heads that blow, you know, jets out the side that you can go in and clean the keg out, and it just, you know, in no time, you know, it's nothing. So, you know, keg's good. It's, you know, somebody sees it, it just looks like a beer keg sitting there. It doesn't look like a, you know, a steel with a cap. That's kind of a funny looking apparatus. What's that for, you know? So, you know, those are pretty good starting. You know, this is about $230. I think there were 208 on sale. I don't know if that's still sale still on. I doubt it, but around $230, and you can run everything that you got there. You're ready to go, and it's got the ferrules already on it, so it's very modular. You can add this to the Beverage Steel, which a lot of people do. I've done, and works great. So you can use this for your whiskeys and your brandies, and then when you want to do higher proof, you know, you can switch over to your column and get some reflux and do a higher proof. You can, like somebody was talking about earlier, with your botanicals and spice. You can hang that basket right inside this head here, and put you a screen. It's already got a screen in there, but you could put a finer screen if you wanted to, and put your botanicals inside there along with your copper mesh, whatever, and do that. And that works pretty well as well. So, you know, those are both, or probably Cake Steel and this little bever, are probably your two best options if you want pretty much headache free starters. You know, that's a good place to start. Like I said, the keg sits right on a little turkey fryer. Make sure you got a pretty good solid base, right? And you can just run your gas, or you could get ferrules, 2-inch ferrules, put in the side and run an element in there. A lot of people do that. If you got somebody welding you a 4-inch ferrule on the top for a clean out, you can have them put you a 2 in the side, and maybe a couple, one for a drain and one for a heating element. You know, those are definitely the best starters for sure. And clean, right? I was drinking some blackberry pineapple brandy. It was two different batches. Actually, it was two different wines I mixed together to distill, and it worked out pretty well. Good combination. That was the last of that. Next, I got some honey shine that Mike made for me, gave me. I would probably opt for this if you want something simple. Now, Tanner, you can do it in your stovetop, but you got to be real careful inside your house. So when you buy this, also buy a fire extinguisher that's ready for alcohol, and keep that on hand always. You know, it's always good to have that on hand in case. See what happened to a friend of mine. You see these little buckles on here that clamp the lids down. They normally work fine, but sometimes one side gets out. You know, if it gets bent or something from misuse, or and both of those buckles aren't in there just right. You know, the sides going in on the bottom to the little lever that pulls down. Sometimes one gets pulled out and it doesn't pull down on that lid enough to give it compression, and you get it started and you're used to running it, and you just walk outside and have a cigarette or two and sit there and look on Facebook on the phone. You walk back in and your garage is on fire, and that happened to a friend of mine. Then you'll be damn glad you had that fire extinguisher, and you'll not smoking it. You'll not go back outside, and you'll pay attention to your steel. Never walk away while you run it. But that's a great beginner steel. Again, you can get it in a 13 or 18 and a half. I recommend the bigger, the better. But on your stove, make sure your stove, when you boil, just boil some water on your stove. Put it on, just put a pot on there. This will take up quite a bit of your stove. You know, if you have like a 5 element, mine's a 5. and I can, in the middle is a heating element. The front and back, you can put it on the side that gets hotter. Right, it's got that double element. Mine does, but mine doesn't cycle on and off, on and off, on and off, and thermostatically controlled. It's controlled by the dial. The higher you turn it, it stays on and it gets hotter, and turn it off and it's cooler. So make sure that you don't, when you're boiling water, just boil water on there and watch it over a 20-minute, 30-minute time, and get it rolling, boiling, and just watch it and see if it cuts on and off, on and off. If it does, it's probably not going to be the best way to go. That's one of the problems with a PID, electrical, unit for the elements. It's a PID. I can't something. I don't know. Periodic discharge. I can't remember, but an SCR works better. The PID, kind of a thermostatically controlled thing, on and off, where an SCR is just dial the heat, right? Dial the electric that's going into it, kind of like more like a rheostat. So it just sends a constant temperature, and that's what you want. That way you don't get a lot of smearing with your temps going up and down, can cause some smearing. So, yeah, one of those definitely be the best way to go. All right, Carl, take it easy, brother. Yeah, 3:30 does come early, man. Yeah. My old lady gets up at 5, so I'm up at 5 every morning with her. And if I haven't been to bed yet, a lot of times that's about the time I go to bed when she gets ready to go to work. I'll sleep while she's at work. I get my work done in the evening time. I appreciate you, brother. If you got any questions, man, jump in there with them anytime, man. Now the proof and hydrometer glass tubes. Now the proofing hydrometer is just measures proof, but the triple scale that he's talking about is the other hydrometer that measures your sugar. So I think you got both of those, right? Keg steels are great. Yep. Yeah, tri clamp already on the top, 2-inch ready to go. Now you will have to get a special gasket for the top. Most tri clamps have like a groove on both sides, whereas a keg steel is flat on one side because there's a gasket on the what do they call them, the spout that you put on them. So the gasket that you're going to put on there on one side will be flat, and the other side will have a ridge. So yeah, I've never was a big beer drinker, but I love my keg steel. Other than cleaning it, it was pretty cool. I liked it because it was a good size for back in 15-gallon. Back in the day, that's big. It's a lot bigger than the little copper steel I had, or the uh, pressure cooker I started with. But I had a little small, maybe 4 or 5 gallon steel, little copper steel at one time. Yeah, I like that keg. It made a lot more liquor. Yeah, it is. Sure is. Yeah, it's kind of like eating turtle meat. Don't ever clean a turtle if you want to eat the meat, right? You want to put a clothespin on your nose if you do, man. That's kind of a smelly animal to clean out, but they're good eating. Bats flowering just die. Yeah, they might be eating some of them damn bugs that's been eating it, get drunk, just pass out. You never know. Your nephew makes moonshine, one drink and done. Yeah. Yeah, man. They got to proof that stuff down. It's got to be less than 130. 130 or less for me is good. I've had some 140, 160, and it's too hard on you, man. It's good, but it's just too hard on your liver. It's too concentrated, too hard on your liver. 130, I tolerate, but about 100, 110 is probably what I like. I don't like the 80 proof stuff. That's a little bit too watered down for me. I can drink that shit like water after drinking a lot of 130 proof. It's like, you see somebody take half pint and drink it at 80 proof. It's, you know, that was all you needed, huh? Yeah. Well, we don't here. It's I'm in Kentucky, so it's not real flat, but it's pretty cheap. But yeah, I'm talking about out in the Midwest and stuff, man. You can get corn. They'll load your damn truck up in Kansas all the way all through the belt there. Man, they'll load you down with corn for next to nothing. Ohio's not too bad. East Ohio's not the best. Southeast, I know right where you at. Around Pike County, Ohio, and around in there. And I used to have a buddy live there. But yeah, it's not the best farming area there, but northern Ohio and central and western Ohio, northwest. Yeah, it gets pretty flat. You might have to drive a little bit, but I know some lot of good grain growers up there for sure. A lot of good grain growers. What's going on, Miss April? Good to see you. Hope you're having a good week. Yeah, yeah, you need to come to Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. Man, you talk about huge, and you can ride down the river. We've canoed the river that goes around it, man. You can feel the cold springs coming out of that cave, man. And we did it during the summer. It's hot as hell, man. We were burning up, and we were we were having to portal around because it got too shallow, so we were having to walk. And I felt this cool water coming out, man. And it was notably cooler. It was like 10, 15 degrees cooler than the water. And I traced it over towards the bank where it was coming out, from underneath. There's a spring coming into the creek there. And man, I sat down in a little puddle there, and oh man, it was so nice and cool. And you could just imagine, Indians back in the day, that was a place where they sat down and cooled off just the same way. It'd be a hot day and out, fighting and hunting and doing whatever and napping, whatever, and come into there and lay down in that nice cool water coming out. Oh, it was a little deeper there, and it was like a cool bath, man. Oh, it was nice. But yeah, it's a nice cave there. What's going on? TH. Is that Thailand? Oh, New South Wales, Australia. Okay. Awesome. How's it going down there? I heard y'all pretty hot. I've got some friends down there in Australia. They talk about, man, it's in the 150s. Or Sean Parker, buddy of mine, lives down there. He's a photographer. He moves around a lot, but man, it's hot down there for sure. Very hot. So I'd say you like to find some of them cool springs down there as well. Yeah, we get people from all over. Australia, 30 degrees. What is that, 150? I might Google it because I don't know that metric. Oh, that's just 86, man. Oh, buddy of mine, man, he was in a heat wave. He's in the hot part, I guess. But yeah, I like watching they had got these a lot of television shows on gold hunting down there. And another one, they trying to think of the gemstone opals. and they do a lot of opal mining down there. And I always enjoy going out and digging and looking for treasures and gold and gemstones. So we used to go to the Carolinas and gemstone mine down there. They've got a place that's got some sapphires and rubies and emeralds. Not so many emeralds, but a lot of rubies and sapphires. And we'd go there and camp and gemstone mine. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, he said it's up to 150 where he was, man. It gets hot in the outback. Very hot. They're worried about a lot of fires too. Buddy, I appreciate it. That's what we're here for. That's right. Well, anything that you want to share, man, we appreciate. You know, I'm 62 and been doing this a while as well. So I appreciate it, man. That means a lot to me, my friend. I appreciate it. Yeah, we've spawned a few distilleries. There's a few people that and I'm not gonna say they listened to us and did everything we said. They've learned and taken what we said and kind of expounded on it and hopefully learned the business side. That's something we don't talk a lot about, in marketing and other things that you have to be a successful distillery. You can make the best liquor in the world, but if you don't have marketing, distribution, you're not gonna make it, right? And you'll just be another, you know, auction. So, but yeah, I really appreciate it, Terry. Really do, brother. That means a lot to us. No, salted. Hell, my grandfather used to salt his beers down every time to help take out some of the carbonation and smooth it down a little bit. Yeah, it's see. Let me see what that would be in. Yeah, right now we're at about. Well, we were in the negative Celsius, but right now we're at about -1. Yeah, I guess 32 is zero on the Celsius scale. I don't know. 211. That's good. Yeah, that's a good deal on on the steel. For 211 bucks on an 18 and a half gallon Beaver football, and everything's here that you need. They even include the pump, the silicone line to the pump. This is a canister filter. It works fine. Much more efficient than the ones that they came out with, the 3-pot. Horrible. Um, but this is a great start. This is a really good start for everybody, and everything's here that you need. And you can boil your water in that pot. It's got if you look on it, you can see it's got a little airlock on there, so you can ferment inside there as well. You can do everything in this pot, but don't try to ferment and then just run it. Right, you got to get the yeast bed out. Right, so you're gonna have to rack it off, clean it up, and then pour it back in. Yeah, I don't want people getting the wrong impression there. Yeah, it's a great price. A couple $100 and you're in business. But keg steels, there's a lot to be said for a keg steel. It's a little bit smaller, it's in that one you can run 15 because it's an 18 and a half. You got plenty of headspace. In a 15-gallon keg, you're going to run 13, 14, 13 change. Uh, yeah, PIDs will surge, right? So, but the kegs are very, very sturdy and they're stealthy. When you look at it, it's a severe keg. It's not a steel. So, you don't that raise a lot of eyebrows when somebody sees a beer keg in the corner of your garage, right? Oh yeah, yeah, man. And I mean, you can literally talk to farmers, and after they get done harvesting, they'll be like, "Yeah, if you want to go out and walk in the fields and pick up what you want, you can. You can take some bags out there, man, and fill a dozen bags in a day. Work your ass off. Your back will be broke, but you'll find out it's a lot cheaper, easier just to buy it from them. But they'll give it to you free if times are tight, man. You can go out there and pick all day. Yeah, most farmers out there where he's at in Iowa and Kansas and out there, man, they've got thousands of acres of corn. It's nothing to them, man. They'll fill your truck bed up for $30, $50. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's filling out though. It's starting to get a little shorter, man. It used to be down my belly button. I guess it's starting to. I'm getting old and it's standing out a little bit. But yeah, I used to be the ZZ Top looking dude. I appreciate it, man. I I never realized it grows so long till I just let it go. Didn't I just quit trimming it one day? Just decided to let it go. Yeah, we got a lot of friends up here in Maine and Vermont and Wisconsin, all up in the Northeast. And trying to think where Maine and Vermont releases out. Got quite a few up there. Whiskey investment. That's a good dad joke. I like it. I like it. It is actually this day and time. Bourbon's kind of, I was talking about that at the beginning of the show. It's, they've been gauging alcohol consumption for 90 years, I guess, since about the prohibition is outfit. And this year is the lowest number that they've ever had in the 90 years of sampling. And, people are finding different things to do than drink. There's a lot of, there's some drinks I didn't know what they were talking about. Some kind of other intoxicant that's not even, I don't know if it's FDA approved or what that's going around. And of course, marijuana and marijuana infused beverages and vaping, that's what a lot of the younger people are, kind of their habits have changed. They're not drinking beer and whiskey as much. They're smoking weed and doing the vape thing and some other thing. I don't know what it was, but probably some infused thing, with marijuana or something. But it seemed like it was something synthetic, something different. And I've not heard of it. And I can't talk about it on here because I don't want to get Facebook banned. But yeah, it's not good because it's not been regulated. The FDA has not done a lot of tests on it, and it's kind of a scary thing. There's a lot of supplements out there, and they'll advertise that it's the best thing, very healthy, all this, that, and other, and it's never undergone any testing at all. The way the supplements are regulated, they're not regulated hardly at all, and they just put anything out there they want. So it's kind of really really should be testing stuff for us a little more. I think for our safety, product safety, consumers should be protected here a little bit more than they are. But they're bought out by all these corporations to not, and they can just turn out whatever the hell they want and put all kinds of shit in their food. And that's changing a little bit now. Yeah, but marketing's everything. I'm glad you stopped in Allen where I didn't see Alan say anything. Bishop on here? Is Bishop on here? I didn't see him comment. You gonna run those stocks if you got a press, like for sugarcane, hell yeah, you can run them through and get that juice and refine it. But It's a lot of work. I'm not going to say it's not worth the time and effort, but you're young. For me, I wouldn't dare do it. It's too much work. Too much work. I was just sweating thinking about it. All right. Absolutely. Go ahead. Oh, Alan, tamale Alan. Smoke. Okay. All right. I was wondering. I didn't see. I was just smoked tamale. Kind of caught my. What kind of question we got here that you asked? Oh, just a couple minutes ago. Good. I'm getting caught up. Given one about 6 months ago. I had some residual whiskey in it. That's always good. But since it all evaporated, that's not so good. Got to get it while you can, brother. Um, Soak it in a barrel. Soak it. Get you a. I'm not sure what size barrel you got. Is 5, 10, 53. I'm not, but get you a tote, whatever size tote that you can fill with water, and just let it float in that, and just keep turning it and let it soak in it. You can put some water in it if you want to kind of keep it, weighed down a little bit in the water. But yeah, just you got to reswell that wood. So if it dries out over time, you get little cracks in between the slats, and you want to kind of fill your tub up and soak it in that. Awesome, 53 full size. That's killer. Yeah, yeah. Just soak it. Get you a big, or you that'd be about the best thing. It's going to be a big tote, right? You may have to get one of the official totes, and if you do that, then you have a good thing to ferment about 250 gallons in. Or you can use it for your reservoir for your condenser water, right? Catch you some rainwater for that. Yeah, you can fill it up with water and see if it leaks, but it'll leak alcohol quicker than it will water because it's a little finer. But um, yeah, yeah, soak it as best you can, or you can just go out, periodically during the day and just mist it down and just keep misting it down, fill it up with water, and just let it sit there and mist it down and keep the inside and out kind of wet, and it'll swell back up, and you'll be good to go. But it's going to take a lot to fill her up, brother. It'll take a while, and I would recommend storing your alcohol in something until you can pretty much fill it up. Because if you just put a little bit in there, it'll be like the little bit that you lost. Um, it'll drain out pretty quick. But if you fill it up with 52 gallons or whatever, and leave a little, by the time it's done in 3 or 4 years, you're only going to have 40, maybe 40 some gallons, right? And change, because you'll lose quite a bit. And that's just a price they pay, to get that kind of flavor. I just grain neutral, just do a neutral spirit. That's what GNS, grain neutral spirit. Um, yeah, just do corn, distill it to high proof, or wheat, corn and wheat combo. Wheat's great. Either or makes a great vodka. Yeah, cheap. It's cheap. Yeah, get you just yellow dent number two. Do like we say, make you shine, just like we always do, but just use reflux. You reflux still, get it to high 180s, 190s, and use that. Yeah, man, it's considerable, man. It sure is. And the longer you go, the longer it takes. Best to try to get smaller barrels like the fives and the 15s. Um, they mature a lot quicker, and it doesn't take as long. Not saying it's going to be better as far as quality. It's really hard to beat a 53 in 5 to 9 years, right? Uh, but economically, it makes sense. Barrels are about the same damn price. Be honest, I get used 53s here for 45, $50. my 5 gallons and my 15-gallon barrels are like 100. So yeah, they're a lot harder because more people want them, right? Not many people can fill up a 53. That's doesn't have a huge ass steel. So it's a lot easier to fill these 5 and 15s up, and that's a big, big, big demand for those. Actually, when I was in Arkansas, something cool as shit. They took a 53-gallon barrel and they took the staves off, took the heads off, and then they used a 15-gallon heads and fewer staves and 15-gallon barrel straps. And I guess they may have made some more straps for it, but made tall. I think probably maybe a 25 or 30-gallon still out of it, or barrel out of it, just using the 53 staves and the 15 heads. And it was a tall, narrow. It was pretty cool, and it would age pretty quickly in those as well, like a 15. So I thought that was pretty neat. It's the first time I'd seen that. Hey, that'll just be experimentation, brother. Start out with simple, keep it simple, and once you get a master at the corn and the corn conversion, then you're going to want to start adding some malted grains and checking those flavors out. Because those are some really interesting flavors, good flavors that you'll like. Um, Not for a neutral so much, like maybe a malted wheat would be good, but a lot of times when you're post flavoring, you don't want a lot of corn flavor. You don't want a lot of other flavors. So that's why they make it a neutral spirit. So you don't have any other influence, because, you know, who wants a fruity, drink that also tastes like corn at the same time, right? So, that it might not really work together very well, you know, like corn and peach or something that just kind of clash. The flavors just don't work together well. So you can, but it becomes expensive. You got to pay for this heat, and you got to pay for all these. That we were talking about that. I think it's last week or earlier. It gets expensive. You know, uh, yeah, I got the old Foxfire books. But yeah, it's best just put it in a storage building, out there that gets a little bit of direct air with the humidity and the highs and lows and temperatures, and just, keep the bugs out of it, the critters out of it, termites out of it. But yeah, it would get expensive, O'Sheen, to try to create that environment like that. It gets expensive generating steam and heat and cooling, and it's best just let nature do its thing. You don't have to do a thing. That's the beauty of it. Just let it do its own thing. It's one good thing about distilling is you don't like winemaking. You don't have to get in a hurry. That wine, it can wait another day before I bottle it. Hell, it can wait another week. You won't even notice it. Wait another month. Might make it better. So, it's a procrastinator's hobby for sure. Well, that's the most important thing, the flavor. You know, um, you'd be surprised. Not a good conversion is what's what. You know, that 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 might fall into the same guidelines that not always to let it to finish dry. Everybody thinks that they have to let their grain mash get to less than one or dry to run it. No, you can run that at 1.005 or something. 0.010 or a little less than that, and experiment a little bit. I'm not saying run it at 1040 or something like that. You let it make the alcohol, but you'd be surprised. A lot of these commercial distilleries get a 1.05, 1.06, and that's all they want. That's it. Boom, ready to go. and they'll ferment that down to 1.005 or so, and run it. Because dry a dry ferment will affect the distillate. It changes things. So you don't always want it to get dry, right? What's going on, Mash Brothers? Good to see you, my man. Yep, from a rocket stove on your keg, man. That's the way to do it, bro. Or your 55-gallon steel drum. Oh yeah, oats are great. I always throw them in there. You don't have to worry about the cellulose. It's not going to be any worse than most of the other grains. Actually, it's the glutens, and the consistency. It starts. You can use some enzymes in there that help break those down. The glucanase in there that helps break those down. So it's not a big deal. It helps soften it, gives it a nice softer feel, makes it a little smoother. It's I like it. I throw it in just about every grain distillation I got. Yeah, it's tough learning to regulate your coals and raking it in, and you just go by your drip. Watch your drip, and if it comes to pouring, you got to pull some of your coals out with a rake, and if it gets to dripping slow, you can push some back in there, and you regulate it. Don't do it under a solid fire. You got to get good coals going, and then you just add wood as you go, and be ready to have your rake or a shovel or something where you can pull some out and push them back in, or a good rake and a good hickory handle or some seasoned handle. Just rake them in and out and regulate your temperature that way, because you can't raise and lower the steel. So you just kind of regulate your temperature like that. But you gotta be careful. You're gonna have smoke, and if you're out there, you're gonna be attracted. And if you got a game warden around there, and they see that smoke, they'll definitely come investigate. They've got these towers that they got cameras on now, and they look for smoke coming up. They're worried about forest fires, right? So if they see a little smoke coming up, and it's not an area where people normally camp, a lot of times they'll send somebody out. Who knows, these days they might just send out a drone, to see what's going on and see if a little fire's gotten started, and catch you on the drone. So it's a different day and time these days. It's a little different. Might not get that visit from the warden. It might be just a little drone flying over you again. That's like, oh shit, it's time to go. um, well, experience but the smaller the steel, the slower the flow, right? So if you're on a 10-gallon, it's going to be dripping. I wouldn't flow out of a 10-gallon. The 18 and a half, the keg and 18 and a half, you can get just, you know, a toothpick size, or just if you go into your bathroom and you go from a drip to the slowest constant, that you can get from a drip to that, just the size of a pencil lead or smaller, that's fine for a 15 to 18 with, these beavers I'm talking about. Uh, but as you get up to 50-gallon steel, you're gonna have pretty decent flow. 100-gallon steel is it's pretty nice trickle. It's got pretty good flow. It's not like garden hose, but you get some of these 1,000-gallon steels. It's coming out like garden hose, man. I mean, it's shit coming out there big. So go to distilleries and look at how fast it's coming out. Some of those big, huge steels, man. They putting it out. So it's all based on the steel size. Well, that temperature, unfermentables. A lot of times, Mash Brothers, people will use their hydrometers. The hydrometers will measure sugars, but it doesn't know if they're fermentable or not, right? So it can't determine whether it's a fermentable sugar or not. So it doesn't know if the conversion was full or not, right? So everybody's, oh, I got a complete conversion. No, you've made a lot of sugar, but some of those may be dextrose, still limit dextrose, and they may not be fermentable because they might have gotten broken down. So add gluconase, use glucoamylase instead of if you're using like malted grains, you can use that liquid gluco and it'll help make everything in there fermentable. If it's like a rum and you're using, molasses, it has a lot of unfermentables. So if you use, like we were talking about earlier, if you use a rum yeast, it'll help convert some of those unfermentables and finish dry. So, what is it? You just running grains or what? Yeah, I like it too. Yeah, you can take that lid right off there and clean it up real good, rinse it out, and same thing with this head. The that canister comes off there. You can and it's the canister's enclosed, so you can force water through there, so you don't have to worry about your flake stand overflowing, right? So you can just pump all the water and run that little pump full blast, and it does a good job. Corn and barley. So you're using gluco beta glucanase then. One thing about beta glucanase is it doesn't break down those branches. It doesn't debranch and break those down as well as a glucoamylase. So if you wanted to add a glucoamylase to your regime, um, just buy some of that liquid gluco and add that. I don't know. Do you have high temp alpha and liquid gluco? If you do, you don't need the high temp alpha if you're using malted barley. You're getting all that you need from the barley itself. I'm sure you're using more diastatically enough to convert. But I would say get you some of that liquid gluco and it'll help break it on down where those sugars will ferment. Because I know you're not getting too high of a gravity, that it's just getting too much for your yeast and that your yeast are dying off because that sometimes people get 1.15 or something, crazy, 20, 30, 25%, uh, so much sugar. And it's almost like a syrup, and it's like the yeast can't do that much. If I could give advice to younger self about distillation, really, I would tell myself to plant fruit trees. If you've got family that have land or anywhere, or you have some land or a farm, I'd recommend trying to find a farm, and live that life and plant as many fruit trees and berry trees and all that as you can. Distillation, you'll learn about it. But my biggest regret is not planting a bunch of fruit trees and berries and having, lots and lots of, annual stuff coming, or perennial stuff coming every year, and lots of fruit trees and peach trees and apple trees and plums and all these different trees and stuff that you can go harvest from for free. That's probably my biggest regrets not doing that. Advice wise is just keep it safe and simple and enjoy yourself and don't drink too much. But for me, I guess it's hard for me because I didn't have the ability to research like we've got nowadays. When I was a kid, when I was young, I didn't have the world at my fingertips, right? It's libraries, whatever you find in the library is pretty much, what you were limited to. And unless you want to go to a distillery and try to pry some information out of them, and they're not going to talk to you much, like they do today. But um, so it's a different time today. So it's my biggest regret though is not buying the farm and putting lots of fruit trees and apple trees on the property that my dad has. But it's easy, man. You got all the ingredients at your fingertips, and nobody really cares out there either. Them farmers like that shine, but it's you got a lot of land and easy to farm. Plant you some fruit trees and on your fence rows, put blackberries and blueberries and raspberries and gooseberries. Hell, plant it all up. I think that'll help you, brother. Just try that liquid glucose. That'll definitely that'll finish it out for you. Nope, this is it, man. And what you do is, if you have questions, you can come on in and ask. And if you want to just watch the videos, you can go on Philbilly Moonshine on YouTube and just go back in time and watch all the old shows. They're all right there, man. Every one of them. So, um, but I have thought about it, but it's just I don't know. I just soon get on here and just do it informally like this. I'm not trying to go viral or make money and start any kind of business or anything like that. It's just a hobby for me, and I enjoy teaching and talking with y'all and helping people out and help distilleries get started and things like that, and have people come in and thank me is means the world to me, man. That's better than any paycheck I could ever get, believe it or not. All right, brother. Yeah, I know it's getting late. We'll probably cut her off at 10 tonight, but thanks for coming in here. Yeah. All right, brother. We'll see you Saturday, man. Have a great week. We'll see you this weekend, brother. That's awesome, man. Yeah, definitely. And try to diversify along your fence rows. You can grow grapes. You can grow all the berries in the world, man. Just plant the shit out of it, man, and just go out and and prune them. That'll be your toughest part, going out and pruning them right, every year. But aside from that, it's just that's the work. Other than picking them and pruning them, it's then you got to make all kinds of babies, so you can send all those youngins out there picking berries, and then they tell them that's how that jelly. They love that jelly, so we got to have more berries to have that jelly, and man, they'll go out there and pick all day, be happy to give them a quarter, right? Yeah, there's George has some decent videos for beginners, but if if you have questions, it's hard to get an answer that way. So I like it this way where everybody can just ask their questions and we can help them one on one. Yeah, some of it's like 110 and some of it's 140. So yeah, look at your labels. What's going on, brother? See, you mentioned it, and then boom, his ears were itching. He's like somebody from Kansas talking about us corn huskers. What's going on, brother? Or is it Nebraska Cornhuskers? Yes, Nebraska. Well, what's it? Kansas. What's Kansas? I can't remember. It doesn't have a negative impact on the flavor, but it's probably not going to be maybe as flavorful as a malted, but it's heck of a lot easier. Blueberries are tough, and it's pruning them, and they're very sensitive to spring temperatures. So sometimes they'll do well, and sometimes they won't, depending on where you're located. I know the orchard, where the winery where we pick. Some years the blueberries will do good, and other years they don't. They're real susceptible to their blooms. Since they come out fairly early, they come out a little bit earlier than the blackberries do. So um, they're a little bit more sensitive to the spring temperatures when they start to bloom, and they bloom pretty quickly. If it starts warming up, they'll bloom, and if they get that late freeze in the spring, that'll have a big impact on them. Yeah, it doesn't impact the flavor, but it's not going to add to the flavor like a malted grain would. That's about the best way to explain it. Iowa. Why I keep saying Kansas? Let's see, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska. They all about. Remember, I spent some time in Kansas. It was pretty cool. All pretty flat. All good football states too. Big time football states. Yeah, I can't wait to get some more of that taco shine, man. I'll be able to buy it right off the shelf now. I got the privilege of trying some of that. I'm not his first batch. I guess he made no, it was brisket he made on the show. I guess I did try the first batch of the taco. Man, that was really, really good. And man, you talk about the best Bloody Mary mix ever. I mean, it's good on its own, but man, that'll make an outstanding Bloody Mary mix. Yeah, not a lot of pruning, just netting. Keep all the critters out of them. Yeah, where we pick ours at, they pull the netting out so we can go get in there and get to them. But keeping the birds and the rabbits and everything else out of them, man, it's a job. That's a good question for Justin. Have you ever pressed the canes? I know you live right there in the middle of Cornville, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a little cooler up there. Yeah, those spring freezes will get you. Yeah, y'all need to hook up. Oseen's a good guy, man. He's just getting started out, very astute. No, he's got who is it running that the New South? What's the name of that distillery making you taco? I think it's the show. I think the show has helped bring back moonshine. A lot of people talk about the show in a negative light, and I love the show. It's entertaining. It's not always factual, and it's a lot of people don't realize that it's done for entertainment purposes, it's not meant to all be factual, and it shows a lot of the mistakes and drama that happens. But it's a funny show. I enjoy watching it. So you made the cobs and all. We were talking about that earlier, making cracking and grinding all up together, and cobs and all. Drop zone. Okay, yeah, good deal. Yep, I look forward to trying it, man. Hopefully they can get that up here in Kentucky. I don't know. I know that I had a yours went pretty quick. Yeah, man. You talk about the perfect Bloody Mary mix, man. Just that and some V8, spicy V8, and you're rocking, man. Celery stick, you're ready to go. But it's good with by itself though. It's good standalone. I knew a lot of people say, "Oh, it's perfect Bloody Mary," but I mean, it's good by itself. You don't have to have the Bloody Mary with it. It's good. Yeah, man. We figure out a way. Oh yeah, I was going to test my microphone out. I hope this doesn't mess everything up. But I want to see. All right, let's see if you can tell the difference in this microphone right here. Let's see. And this microphone right here. Can you tell a difference in that microphone and this microphone right here? Which sounds better? This is number one, and this one's number two. This number two and this one's number one. Which sounds better? This one has an echo. Let's see. This is number one. This is microphone number one here. Let me go back to audio. So this is microphone one, and this one here is microphone number two. Microphone number two, and then microphone number one. So this one's a deeper voice. Or this one's a deeper voice. This is my webcam microphone. This is the microphone that's a little microphone on my Logitech webcam that I have been using in the past. And then this microphone here is on a boom. It's a different microphone. I'm confused which I say number one and two. Okay. So this is the boom mic. I keep it above me so y'all can't see it, but it's you got to keep it within so many inches of your mouth for it to work right. So it might not be close enough, but I just keep it hanging there. It looks like it's part of the ceiling fan, I guess. You don't really notice it, but that's I guess that's microphone number one. And then this one's microphone number two. Because some people are saying that the other one. So they both sound okay. I'll tell you, that is a good little microphone, though, for a little webcam. Microphone one sounds cleaner. Yeah, this little microphone was rated. You know, they rated this one with some microphones and stuff that were like $200, $300, $400, right? This one actually was ranked one of the highest. It probably sounds better when it's down here like it's supposed to be, 6 inches from my mouthpiece, speaking directly into it. From the type of microphone it is, you're supposed to be close and speaking directly into it, but I don't want it in my face, so I just keep it up there out of my face, and it's still pretty close to my mouth. Whereas the other one, it's like 2 feet away. So it doesn't. The little microphone on the webcam does a good job. That's an old Logitech webcam, 720p, and it takes a decent. It was a decent camera when I bought it, but that thing's like 15 years, more than 15, 16 years old. I think I got it in 2010. So yeah, it's been around since Windows 98. I think I've been using it a long time. No, it's actually a Fi-Fine. It was ranked higher than the Logitech Blue Yetis, believe it or not. And of course, I wanted to get a SM7B, but I was like, or $500 for a fake one, and more if you get a real one. But yeah, I'm not going to spend all that kind of money. This sounds pretty good enough. But a lot of people were having trouble hearing me sometimes on that webcam microphone. Number 2 has room sound. Yeah, it's a little further away. I guess it would sound more spatial, than I guess than talking into a mic. But both did a fine job, I guess. That's good. But I just want to make sure that clear and people can understand me pretty well. I think this other one they were having a little bit of trouble. I don't know as far as noise canceling. I think this one will noise cancel background noises a little bit better than the other one will. So, but the Blue Yetis are great microphones and good value. But this one was like $30, 50 with the boom is like $28. Cheap, real cheap. And it was rated at the highest of some that were, like I said, $200-300 microphones, right? And it was, yeah, I know. That's what I wanted, a Shure SM7B, but I ain't got the money for that. Yeah, Shure SM7B. Well, now that if it's a fake one, they're about $100. Anywhere from $80 to $100. The real ones are about $400 or $500. So you can get the fake ones, and the fake ones sound okay. And I think the fake ones might be about the same technologies going into this Fifine, truth be told, out of China. But they rated this with they did a lot of different microphones and stuff, independent testing, and they found that this is the best. Yeah, a lot of those Shures are faked. They're bootlegged and they're faked. They look really close, and they're clones out of China, but they're not the same inside. Not the same technology inside. It's just the casing and everything's cloned to look like it. Kind of like the gun sights. What is it? Shoot. Trying to think of the EOTech. You can get the eBay EOTechs for about $100, but they're not a true Halo sight, but they're actually a pretty good sight. Or you can get an EOTech for $1,500. So yeah, big difference. Let's see what they're costing now. The EOTechs. I haven't priced it in a while. Cabela's. Let's see what they're at. Cabela's $500. Yeah. Yeah, that's the older one too. I think the new one's a little bit more than that. No, I don't have P.O. box. I would never have anything like that sent to a P.O. box, but I'll give you my address. Not on here though. Message me on Facebook, brother. Yeah, I love the Shure mics, man. They're the best. They are. Well, not the best, but probably for $500, it's great. There are some out there that are, thousands that all the movie stars and stuff, singers use. But a lot of people use that Shure SM7B. It's a good one. What's going on, Mike? Good to see you, brother. I was wondering what was happening. I was wondering where you were. Man, I got a little bit of sweat on me. I don't know. I might be coming down something, man. I don't usually get a big hot flash like that. Is that a sign of getting old? I don't know, man. I'm just all of a sudden kind of sweaty. Hot. Maybe I'm just not used to the warm temperatures down here. I'm sitting next to a heater. Coming down with something. Yeah. Some of us. I think Cave Daddy, was it Cave Daddy said he had to wake me up at 3:30 as well? Yeah. Yeah, my old lady gets up at 5. That's about the time I go to bed. Yeah, I don't sleep a lot. Hell no, I don't want your mash bill. I want your damn liquor. I know, I got my own mash bill. I just want to taste your product, see what your cuts are like. Well, I guess I can't hear anyway, but let me plug this back in. I don't know where I wear the headphones for. It's not like I can hear y'all tight. I'm just used to putting them on. Yeah, it's a nice day, wasn't it, Mike? No problem, brother. That's what we're here for. I don't want to hear that shit. This thing, rub it in. Let me scoot this chair. Yep. I got to sit close so I can put my hand, rest my arm on the chair arm and on my little, I got my keyboard and stuff here. It's my gaming position, right? So how many of y'all play computer games or console games? Y'all ever get into gaming? I love it. I have all my life. Loved them. I play Counter Strike a lot of first person shooters. Barrel aged gin sounds good to me. I like the gin that's made with more floral notes than juniper notes. You know, citrus and floral notes than juniper. I'm not a big juniper fan or a anise fan or star of anise fan or any of that. So I kind of prefer a more citrusy floral gin. I'm not played that one. I have been playing Warzone for a long time. I started out playing Call of Duty. Well, I didn't start out playing Call of Duty. I played a lot of games, but I played a lot of Call of Duty and a lot of Medal of Honor. A whole lot of Medal of Honor back in the day, and Counter Strike. Uh, Played that for a long time. Probably lately, I've been playing a lot of Warzone, but it's getting to where it's got so many cheaters in it, man. It's hard to play, without getting frustrated, man. But I've been playing Arc Raiders. That's the new one that came out, and yeah, I used to play Counter Strike a lot. I've seen a lot of Counter Strike. I used to be a senior server admin. I actually played Callow leagues back in the day, and it'd be like the professionals do these days, that you see making the big bucks going around playing. But back then, there was no money in it, no streaming, video game streamers, and all that. But yeah, I played in the cyber athletic leagues and Counter Strike and stuff back in the day. I'd be what I guess today a lot would consider a pro gamer back then. But yeah, I was ranked in Medal of Honor 14th in the U.S. and Europe. They played on two different servers. There's a U.S. and Europe server, and then a Asia and Africa servers. And I was 14th on the Europe and the Americas. for kills. That wasn't KD. That was just for total kills. I killed more people in that game than smallpox. I killed millions of people. Sounds interesting, man. I see O'Sheen becoming a big time distiller someday with his creativity and the way he thinks, man. RuneScape was fine. Yeah. Yeah. I love Call of Duty. Till it got so many cheaters, man. It got so bad. I just couldn't stand it anymore. I'm so competitive and just knowing that people are using aim bots and wall hacks and watching them, and being able to observe them after they kill you and watching, how they move around in circles and, sit and stop while they're at a wall, kind of looking. You can tell what they're doing. I was a senior server admin that would have to screen for cheaters all the time on Counter Strike, and yeah, it's just too frustrating, too competitive. It's hard to really, yeah, yeah. I played about all the games back in the days. I mean, but those were probably my favorites. But trying to think of some of the others that I liked a lot. Far Cry was a good game. I mean, that wasn't a multiplayer, but for just a single player, it was a campaign type thing. It was nice. I got immersed in it, and then trying to think of some of the other ones. Man, hard for me to remember. My mind's going. No, just a craft distillery, but you can upsize a craft and make it to where everybody can get your bottle. Did a lot of Ghost Recon. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing better. I've finally figured out that a lot of the people I was playing Counter Strike with were cheaters, in the group, in a large group, and we had our own server and stuff. And I found out a lot of them were cheating, and here I was beating them, and here they had wall hacks and shit. They could see your name tag and everything through the wall. And one of the kids that his dad also played, and I'm not going to name any names, but his dad also was a admin, wasn't a senior server admin, but he was an admin. But his son posted on Facebook, a picture of him killing, this kill count and all that, and in the background you could see, the structures and stuff, but you could also see players' names through it. And I'm like, well, what's this? What? How you seeing everybody's name through the walls? And he's like, oh, that's like a radar. And I'm like, mine doesn't have that radar. Why does yours? That's console has it. No. And I knew then, and I'm like, so you cheat, and obviously your daddy does because he sits there and plays in the same room with you and sees all that. And then I realized that probably most of the people in there were cheating their ass off and frustrated. Here I'm getting killing. I think Architect. He wasn't a cheater, but he was a pro gamer. He'd be a pro gamer by today's standards too, and he had more kills than me. But yeah, it's frustrating knowing that. That kind of broke me on it. Yeah, citrus and orange essence. Yeah, I just can't understand the how people can cheat like that and get any satisfaction out of it. I guess it's just some kind of demented, getting something over on somebody feeling, because it can't be satisfying to know that you had to cheat in order to do it. But arc raiders is fun. I'm sure that there are people in there starting to probably cheat as well now, but it's just a little bit something different, and it was a good, much needed break from Warzone. I think Warzone new season. I didn't play the first season of this new. I think it's Black Ops based, but I didn't play the first season. I played about a week into it and got pissed off and quit and started playing Arc Raiders and having a good time at it. Looting and playing. It's pretty fun. What's going on, Patrick? Good to see you, brother. Having a great evening. How about yourself? Yeah, I need to get up with you sometime, Patrick. Talk about what we were talking about on the shit show the other night. Pappy? You talking about Pappy Van Winkle? Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, some consider it the best. I think it's probably way overrated, but it's good. Hello, Miss Tammy. You're not. Yeah, it's way overrated. Why? Yeah, you can cheat. You can run high octane and lower your weight if it's got a weight class, and they tell that to NASCAR and you can't cheat. Man, they found every which way in the world they can cheat. But yeah, I know what you're saying, brother. Yeah, they say small batch, but how small was that? 10,000 gallon batch. They got blended. Now, that's good. Hard to cheat when there ain't no fuel limits or weight limits. So, what kind of racing is it? Outlaw racing, or what? What are you racing? Who was it in there talking not too long ago about lawnmower race? Want to do lawnmower racing? That's cool. I think, yeah, yeah, 10,000 gallon small batch. Oh, drag racing, small tire, awesome. Yeah, I was thinking track for some reason. Yeah, I used to enjoy racing cars. Hell yeah. It might have been you, Mike. Let's talk about it. I remember it was. It sounded fun as hell, dangerous as fuck. Sound like something I'd do. Yeah, I used to have a little Toyota Supra, and I'd smoke him. I ran quite a few cars with that thing, but it wasn't just a drag strip. It was on the 4 lane with some curves, and I could outrun about all the 305 Chevys, but the 454s, the 6.6s, Trans Ams, they get me a little bit if the right driver. I think they should, just because it's life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and that's our pursuit of happiness. No, it's as long as you're not selling it and you're just making it for yourself, you're not evading taxes, because you only tax stuff that you sell, right? That you make profit on. So you're not, if you're just making your own product, and that's the way it is in all the states that it's legalized, is, they'll burn your ass if they find you selling it. But as long as it's for yourself and you keep it in your home, you know, then it's legal, and that's the way it should be. Yeah, that was kind of like the all the marijuana madness and all the crazy videos they when marijuana became a thing back in the day and reefer madness. Yeah, the movie came out and it's like somebody took a couple puffs off a joint. Next thing you know, they got a chainsaw looking around to kill somebody, and it was just so stupid, so stupid propaganda stuff. It's just horrible. S10 with the 6.0, awesome. 78 millimeter turbo. Awesome. I used to drive a S10. Mine had 2.8 liter though. That thing got good mileage. It's a 2.8 liter, and I think it's about 89 Blazer with a 2.8, five speed. And it get 4-wheel drive. Yeah, you get 27 miles to the gallon on a 4-wheel drive. That's pretty nice. Yeah, they want control. Yeah, less bottles, less brown beer bottles and green beer bottles. And smiles per gallon. Yeah. Or is it gallon per miles? That's race cars. It's instead of miles per gallon, it's gallons per mile. I wouldn't doubt it. It's like spraying paraquat on marijuana back in the days when they did that. They watched a bunch of people get all messed up from it. And thalidomide for the, yeah, children. Yeah. No, the 4-wheel drive though it pulls itself fine, but and out in the woods and stuff it did fine. But it was just a little gas miser, small blazer, and it was the small ones, S10. But I loved it. It was a good little vehicle for you know in the snow and town driving and kind of like an enduro versus a YZ, kind of thing. But yeah, it wasn't a bad little deal, man. You'd be surprised how nimble it was up in the woods, though. You put the right tires on it. Yeah, it went places you wouldn't imagine it going. But it wasn't hauling. You couldn't haul anything in your trailer or anything behind it. And you couldn't pull somebody out. I tried to pull a buddy of mine that was stuck out. And man, you could hear the valves rattling. It wasn't gonna do it. Yeah. But yeah, it ain't gonna climb some of those big hill climbs or anything like that. But it was a great town and country type 4-wheel drive. It got good mileage. I liked it. 1980 Camaro, man, that brings back some memories for me. I was my junior year of high school. Those old Firebirds and Camaros and Trans Ams. I like the 6.6 Trans Am. That was that was the bomb back then. Everybody wanted that 6.6 Trans Am. Yeah, they I think they had a 3.0 in them, 2.8, and then maybe it's 4.0. And then a 4.3, maybe. I can't remember what all different ones it had. Yeah. Yeah, they're nice, man. What was that? What was the LT? The Camaro LT? Trying to think of what my brother-in-law had. LT1. No, no, no. This was back in the. No, let's see. What was that? He's around a 79. Wasn't a Z28. It was something else. Had a scoop on the back. What was that? It was a limited edition. I can't remember what it was. Was it an LT 78 LT? Maybe it was LT. Let me see. Yep, that's it. LT, type LT. Yep. That's it. Had a scoop coming up on the back. Yep. He's had a big stripe down the middle, just like this right here. Yep, that's it. Yeah, I like those. His was badass, except the color of it. I hated the color. His was like I don't know, this is kind of like a lime greenish, but it wasn't lime green. It was a pale lime green with a black stripe. I wasn't real fond of the color, but it was a nice. No, I like the shape of it. It was a nice car. There we go. Ocean, getting us back on topic. Here we go. Or both. Yeah, you can steep your low wines with your spice and run it in a basket and infusion. Both. Yeah, those 92 Toyotas, man. Those things last forever if you take care of them. Or let me have it. That'd be, yeah. But yeah, those are some trucks that last you forever. Those late 80s and early 90 Toyotas last forever. It's not a true double distillation. It's not. It doesn't double. So if you run without that thumper, you're probably going to get 120, 30, but easy. And with the thumper, you're going to get 140 ish plus 50 maybe. So it's not double, or you'd be getting 190 out of it, right? So yeah, it's a second distillation, but it doesn't double the proof like a lot of people are led to believe by the show and but it is getting redistilled, but it's just not doubling the proof, right? It takes water out. So when you run it through a thumper, it's just redistilling and it's leaving behind more water, so it does increase the proof. So it is cleaning it up some. You can also, add flavors and use your thumper to add flavors. We always put tails in there. So when it redistilled, it would bring alcohol out of the tails that we put in there and increase the quantity, not quality, but quantity that we were producing. So it was pretty efficient that way, and you'd get more production out of it. And that's why I kept the tails. I'd run those in the thumper, and instead of getting, hypothetically, instead of getting 4 quarts out of it, you're getting 5 or 6, right? So that was always nice, increasing your production for the hearts, right? Well, the thumpers were originally designed to take a to get a second run. Back in the old days, we didn't get a good conversion, so we were running 1040, 1045s, 1050 at best, and you would get a 100 proof off the steel, 90 proof off the steel on your first run, and then you could run it again and get your higher proof that you wanted and clean it up some, right? And a lot of people would run it 2 or 3 times. That's why like we talked about the number of X's on the jar, how many times it got run, because every time you ran it, you would refine it and it bring up the proof, right? So they discovered that by adding a thumper in line, you could kind of get that second distillation without running it again, and it was just more efficient that way. And then they figured out you could put tails in there and get higher proof and more. So that's what was done for a long, long time, is just use that thumper to get more production at a higher proof, by adding tails. And go into modern day distilling. Now people are putting infusions on infusion ports on the top of the thumper and adding flavors to it. So instead of just adding tails to it to increase production, now they're adding flavors to the thumper and putting drains on it so you can drain it out and reinfuse and add flavor at the same time as you're increasing, the proof. So it's similar to small thumpers. I mean, it's redistilling inside the jar, but it's the whole premise behind that is infusion takes it's expensive, and it if you put it in a thumper, it takes a lot to do and it gets watered down pretty quickly. And then you're having to pour gallons of infusion juice into a thumper instead of a quart at a time that would go into, a thumper jar, or infusion jar. So it is similar in the fact that it's going through the redistilling, but in the jar rigs, you're changing them out and reinfusing, which I would rather, go with a copper uh, instead of using a glass jar. Use a little copper there instead. There's nothing that says you can't have a half-gallon copper infuser versus a jar, and you don't have to worry about it breaking. And you can put a drain on it and a port in the top. You don't have to worry about it taking it off and putting in flavors and screwing it back on with your grill gloves and running your bypass and all that. Still run the bypass, but to a copper rig, it's a lot easier, safer. I don't know what old George is up to. I've not seen him. I don't know if he would or not. It'd be pretty interesting. Yeah, I've watched a lot of his videos back in the day. I enjoyed watching them too. Yeah, it's going to become a problem. You don't want to get too much. It's some of the good things great. You can overdo things. I will say 3 jar rigs are fine, but 3 properly sized thumpers would be too much, probably. Um, Properly sized meaning a quarter to a third the size of the steel, and jars are nowhere near that, right? So, um, yeah, jars are more for infusing than for thumping. But I mean, if you got a 5 gallon steel and you got a half-gallon thumper infuser, that's kind of like a thumper for the small steel. But then you see somebody running a 40 gallon steel into a few, half-gallon jars. That's not a thumper; those are infusion jars, right? He did. He sold barley and hops, and has a no compete agreement. But I think that might be up. But I don't know if he has anything going on again. I think maybe he's just probably sold it for millions and just happy with what he got, and just probably sipping a mai tai on some beach with getting fanned and fed grapes from women. Who knows? Yeah, I don't think he's doing any new content though. I think he was maybe a machinist or something. That's a good question. I think he might have been like old Wayne, the engineer and the machinist. Let's see what it says. He was in the army. Served in the army for 35 years before retiring to open up a home brew supply store and do the videos. So he was a military veteran, 35-year, served in the military. Thank you for your service, sir. Yeah, it's been like 3.5 years since he sold out. And I wouldn't say sold out, just he sold the company. I'm not saying to sell out. I don't want people to think that at all. Somebody says, "Hey, I'll buy all your old videos, and if you promise not to make any more, and I'll pay you $1 million for them," I'd be like, "Gonna miss y'all. Gonna miss you, Clint." Yeah, yeah, it's you can definitely get the most out of it if you have an occupation that kind of caters to the hobby. Yeah, Captain George, Lieutenant George. Yeah, I like his graphs and stuff. I always wanted to do the graphs on this, but I just figure I can pop up pictures instead of drawing it. But I would love to be able to draw graphs and explain a lot of the stuff. But I can share the screen and kind of show you with my mouse what I'm talking about and point to certain things. And um, you work in IT, well, maybe you can help me with this damn gaming rig I'm putting together, man. I just bought a new board, new video card, and all new setup. I don't know if Asus Tough motherboard Z890 chipset, Intel Ultra CPU, i5. I think it's 245 KF. Um, NVIDIA RTX 5070 video card and 32 gigs of DDR DDR5 RAM, 32 gigs. And I think the BIOS is needing to be flashed on the board because the video is not posting. It's not coming up, and I'm not sure if there's a compatibility with the RAM issue without having the BIOS update. So kind of hard to do a BIOS update if you don't have video. So I have to put an old video card on here. Yep. Yeah, you got to update the BIOS, but it helps if you're getting something on the screen. It's kind of hard to flash the BIOS if you can't see anything on the screen. So the video's not posting because I don't even think the RTX 50 series was even out when this BIOS came out, because I think this board's um, 20 October 24 build. Yeah, I know. So I'm thinking I'm just going to put an old video card in there and hopefully that'll work. I've got a 3060 I can put in there and hopefully that'll work. But you know, how how do you upgrade it if it has an issue with the RAM? I got to have some RAM in there to update it before. Yeah, I mean, I used to build computers all the time. I built them since the 286 days, but most of the times I've never had any issue posting. I've had some RAM issues, but I always could see the screen and go into the BIOS and deal with it and work on the timings, voltages, things of that nature, and make it work. But well, it has to be DDR5 on this Z90 chipset, right? On this board, it's all DDR5, and so yeah, and it's not on the QVL, but it's no, it won't take anything but DDR5. This Z90 chipset. It's the latest chipset coming out, man. It's DDR5 and newer. It was not backward compatible to DDR4. Yep. And I got this Patriot. Where's that the box at? I was just coming with it here. This Patriot Elite 5. Good stuff. And RAM's expensive as hell right now. If you price RAM, man, this was about $120 8 months ago. Now it's almost 400. Fucking crazy, man. All this AI and Bitcoin mining is driving up the price on video cards and RAM big time, man. Even DDR4, if you got it, you can make some money on it. No, it's the GPU is good. It's just the BIOS not recognizing it. So hopefully putting in an old video card will help that. But hopefully I don't get any post issues with the RAM. May end up having to go with a different RAM, send this back and get something that's on the QVL list that'll work right off the bat with the old BIOS. I know with the newer BIOS, this RAM will work, but I don't have any RAM to put in there that will accept it until I can get the new BIOS flash and then put this on. So yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and the DDR5 is even more. It's nuts, man. It's just like gold. It's crazy. Yeah, this was 6-8 months ago. This was $120-$130. Now it's on sale $398. 390s, and a lot of the stuff that are comparable in the 4 and 500s. So this was a good deal on this RAM, and good stuff. Viper Gaming. But yeah, it's I put together a really good no, the board's powering up fine. It's posting. It's giving me a orange light for the RAM. It's not liking the RAM, but I'm not getting any video either because the BIOS, right? It's not recognizing anything. So I don't know. May end up just having to take it over to Best Buy and let them put an old video card and put some other RAM in there and try different RAMs till we can get one that'll work and then flash the BIOS, and then I should be able to, use this video card and RAM. once I do that. But yeah, it's more of a headache than I've ever had building them before. The old ones that I've had, those ones sitting right next to it, I built those and never had big deals. Yeah, definitely worms. Yeah, I've got a bunch of PCs. Yes, sir, I do. I've got one down here that's got a 3060 in it, but the power supply is not enough to power this big 5070. But I've got some around here that I can test the video card in. I know the video card's fine. It's all brand new. I may just have to take it to Best Buy and get them test everything and flash that BIOS for me there. They got plenty of RAM back here in their workshop that they can put in there to make it work till we can get her to post. Because once I can get it to post and see the post and get in the BIOS, I can make it work. Yeah, it is, man. I know. It's I've been in this IT too for a long time. I've done a lot of IT work and built a lot of computers, and it's a conundrum. It's like you got to have video. So I'm hoping putting the 3060 in there will help, and at least I'll be able to see and flash the BIOS. But you got to have RAM. But hopefully, if I get the BIOS, I can make it work. Just booting with it, but you gotta be able to see that BIOS to flash it. But it's been a headache. I built a really good budget system here. I mean, you know, $1,400 doesn't sound like a budget to a lot of people, but for a gaming rig with a 5070 video card, that's a pretty damn good deal for what I've got with the RAM I got and all the stuff I've got in it. Yep, yep. And then you just replace it, just get a new motherboard, and just have it basically, yeah, it's off one. Yeah, exactly. And I did the same thing. I was hoping I knew better that I knew this wasn't going to power it. The power supply in there was nowhere near big enough. And then I just decided to bit the bullet and decided to build it. Probably be the last one I build. It's sad. Yeah. Yeah, shotgun and a worm are going to be fairly similar. But I definitely prefer the worm. I don't know if it's just old fashioned and liking the copper, but the worms seem to be, I won't say the best because the best may be determined by your space. So if you don't have a lot of room and you don't have space for a big reservoir and a big worm and a flake and a big barrel with a big coil, um, then a good shotgun condenser definitely fits the bill. For tight spaces. And if you want to do it in your kitchen, for example, it's hard to wheel in a big 100-gallon or have you a tote reservoir and all that in your kitchen. Oh yeah, but I'm just, by the time I'm 70, these these gaming rigs generally last about 10 years, before you need a new one. I mean, not for competitive gaming, but just for use. Right? So, I've got these other two that I built before. I built one for my business and one for gaming, and so I could keep them separated for tax purposes and other things, and That was about 12 years ago. They lasted, and they're still good. They'll do Windows 10. I haven't put 11. Well, actually, one of them's got Windows 7 on it still. I guess you could put a worm inside a tube and do it that way, but I think Wayne might have done something like that actually. Yeah, and run it through the window or something. That's what I thought about doing in mine for the wintertime when I run in the kitchen. I could just put it outside and it stay good and cold and have the gutter, catch water and just recirculate that gutter water. And I think the best way to do it is have two barrels, one that you're taking water from, and the other one that you're sending that water to, because I think it worked better than if you were, yeah. I think if you were sending that hot water, that warm water back to that barrel, it would cause that water to get warm quicker, and too warm quicker. Well, Liebig's not a coil though. It's just a straight tube. It's tube and shell. I think they call it tube and shell condenser. So, but I think Wayne actually, I know he made one that goes around the outside of a pipe, and I think he might have encased that one did a coil inside of a pipe too. He's done all kinds of stuff cool like that, experimented with stuff. But shotgun probably, you know, if space is at a minimum and it's I think it's a pretty good happy medium. I'm not real fond of Liebigs. Um, but I don't mind a shotgun. Worm I prefer, but if you got space for it. And I've been able to keep up tonight, man. That's awesome. That's pretty nice to be able to keep up with things. I like trying to do my best. And I think you got to look at the temperature of your distillate coming out, right? 65 to 75, somewhere in that range is the temperature you want your liquor coming out at. So whatever condenser you can use that will allow you to produce at the rate you want to produce at and keep it between 65 and 75 is doing a fine enough job. That's really what you want. So that's your target. Um, to for a Liebig to be that consistent and good, it would have to be very long and have a pretty large shell. And just most of them don't, and they're not real efficient. I've seen steam coming out of them too, and there's I'm just afraid you lose some vapors and it's just might lose some alcohol if it's not efficient enough. And a lot of Liebigs aren't. I think a lot of Liebigs are undersized for what you need. 65 to 75, it's just the best temperature for your alcohol to come off with the fats and oils and alcohol. It's not coming off too hot and being more I guess the hotter it comes off, the more evaporation that's going to take place, which might be good for a lot of the higher volatiles. And too cold can cause some of the fats to start to change and solidify a little bit, like freeze, not freeze, like freeze filtering. Um, and it just affects the fats of it and can affect the flavor. But yeah, 65 to 75 is the temperature, the range that you really want it to come off at. to make shine in prison. Prison hooch. I don't know, man. It's not easy. I'd say freeze distilling and make a fortified wine would probably be the best if you get it in a cold enough area, but it's gonna be hard to cook it. I've heard of it though. Yeah, it's in the molecular exactly. It has to do with the oils, the molecules, and the way that they combine coming off too cold. They start to solidify and come out of solution, and too hot, and I think it's too volatile. Yeah, I've seen the prison hooch. You basically just have to make a wine, and you can fortify it if you can freeze distill it. What's going on, brother? Yeah, because then you're just looking at more time. You get caught, it's more time. Best way to make prison hooch is let somebody else do it and just make buddies with the one that does. Yeah, there's very simple ways to build a steel. You know, I think a lot of people make it a lot more complex than it has to be, and but it's copper has always been pretty easy to hammer out, malleable, and easy to solder, and that's why most of your craftsmen make it with copper because it's just so easy to do, and everybody's got a blowtorch, you know, and can use a torch and flux and solder. A lot easier than welding. Do you live close to a military base, an airport? I live close to the airport. We get them flying over here all the time. But yeah, an efficient build would definitely be, pot still. You know, a lot of people get all caught up in thumpers, and thumpers are kind of an intermediate, to advanced thing, and something really beginners shouldn't even be doing it. And they put them on every one of these three pot stills, these Vevers, and all of a sudden everybody's starting out with thumpers, and it's just not it's not the best for starters. Uh, Best to learn just basic pot straight into a coil condenser and worm. But I mean, they used to be wood steels, brother. I mean, they've made steels out of wood. These it doesn't have to be real hot. Just 200 degrees. So it's less than boiling water. So it just yeah, they used to do they used to distill out of tree logs. Yeah, I agree. No, no, no. 173.1 is what methanol boils at if it's pure methanol, Oshin. But it's an azeotrope, which means that you can heat a mash up to 173 degrees and absolutely nothing happens, because once you mix the methanol with ethanol and with water, which are all azeotropic, the boiling points for each of those change. So the methanol, it'd be awesome if it were the case. We could just crank our stills up to 173 and just boil all the methanol off, right? And then once all the methanol was boiled off, then we could turn it up a little bit more and to the boiling point of ethanol and boil all that off and just have water left over. But that's not, it won't happen because it's an azeotrope. So read about azeotropes. And yeah, you're and here's the scale, and I'll explain it as I show you this little scale here. So you can see on this left side is, I'm going to move this comment so you can see this a little better. So on the left side is temperature in Fahrenheit, right? And on the bottom is alcohol in percentage, not proof. So this is going to be half proof, right? So 100% alcohol is 200 proof, right? So it doesn't get there. So you can see it stops at 98, which would be, 196 proof or something like that. So as the temperature, as if it's pure, yes, it will boil at 173. But as you add water, you can see that the boiling point increases, right? All the way up till you get to 210. And you'll also see that that doesn't intersect the temperature line at 210, the boiling point of water, either, because it's an azeotrope. And once you get to that probably 4%, which is 8 proof, it just comes off with the water all the way until there's no water or alcohol left in the pot, because it's an azeotrope and it's bonded together. But, that's in a pot still. Now you can fractionally distill and separate those by temperature and the location of the actual column. But in a pot still, this is how it works. And this is why you're not going to see anything happen until it gets to about 195 or so. And if you go over to 195 and you go over to the right, and that's what, 12, which is about 24 proof or 12%. And that's about what we deal with. If you add tails, then, yeah, you can start getting a little bit of action in the low 190s, to 190. If you have, a bunch of tails in there, maybe even the high 180s. But because it's an azeotrope, nothing happens at 173.1, which is the boiling point of pure methanol. Yeah. Yeah. It's, you would have to concentrate methanol for it to get to the point where it's going to blind you. So it's all a myth. You can make methanol. You can create methanol. It's easy. If you want to run off your heads and save your heads and then run those off again and then save those heads and then run them off again and save the heads of the heads of the heads. If you continue to do that, you concentrate them, and you can get to the point that if you drink that, yeah, it can cause you to go up with blind, but nobody does that. Nobody would do that, I hope. But people have, and people get greedy, and they keep trying to get alcohol out of those heads and keep running them and running them, rerunning them, and running them, rerunning them, and then get greedy and just like, just mix it all together and sell it. And they have a really high percentage of methanol in there, and it, it can fuck people up and kill people. It happened in, I think, India or some third world country. I think it was India, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. A bunch of people in a small community had quite a few people die because of the local distillery being a dumbass. All right, y'all. It's 11 o'clock, getting late. It's Tuesday. We may step a little later on the weekends, but it's I gotta go put Miss Claus to bed. So it's good seeing everybody. Good chatting with you. Had a lot of good questions, and we stayed on topic for the most part. Talked a little bit about race cars. That's all right. I like it. But it's good that we had a lot of good questions. Um, I wouldn't go with 4 ounces. I've seen a lot of people do 50 milliliters, per gallon. Uh, but you'll learn just to go by smell after a while. Smell and taste, and making your cuts. And once you do the same thing over and over and over again, you'll know right what it is. You'll know how many jars, it's just okay, there's those. You'll just won't even hardly have to smell it, taste it, or do anything with it. But it's always good too. But experience is your best aid there. I can talk about cuts, but until you smell them, it's hard to describe a smell. I can say it smells like fingernail polish remover, but that's kind of perfumed. So if you go to the store and you get acetone that's used for stripping lacquer and stuff on wood and thinning paints and other things, then you'll smell it and you'll say, "Oh, okay, that's the smell." So, but yeah, it's hey, no problem, Rags. Hey, we're here every Tuesday and Saturday. Same place every week, twice a week. We'll be here. We'll talk about everything, but we try to stay on topic. Sometimes we get a little off topic, but yeah, we like having people come in and like a lot of new people, a lot of new beginners come in and ask a lot of the same questions, and we like help getting them off on the right foot. Getting them into a decent still and away from some of the steels that they're going to have to put a lot of work into, and to make them work. It's a great hobby, and it's good to learn to modify your steels and to make it, make them better, and that's part of the process too. But for a lot of beginners, it's a frustrating point. A lot of times they would just quit, because it's just too much. And it's like, damn, I just wanted to make alcohol. I didn't want to become a plumber and all this and do all this, be an engineer, and I just want to take and make a little alcohol, and it's just too much. And a lot of times they don't realize it's a little bit more work than what you think. There's a lot of work involved in it. But thank you everybody for tuning in. I know they got us on Saturday, but not Tuesday. That's Damon. I don't know what his deal is, but it is what it is. We're going to be here regardless of what they say. That's not Damon's call. That's mine. So, but yeah, I know. But yeah, we're here on Tuesdays and Saturdays. I used to be on Wednesdays and Saturdays, but there's another show that's on Wednesdays, and wanted to kind of give them a chance to post their stuff on the militia page too. And that's fine. I don't mind moving to Tuesdays. That works for me fine. I wasn't set on it, so they can post their show on Wednesdays now and not conflict with me. And I like watching some of the stuff they got on there. They bring people on there. I used to do the Wednesday show. Roger and I and Mark did originally, and then me and Roger did, and then we kind of went off on our own and did separate things. And then, but yeah, we used to do the master distillers and bring all those on and interview them before the show and after the show, and that was a lot of fun. We had Justin. That's how I got to know Justin and a lot of the others, and Jason and a lot of the others that have been on the show. And that was a lot of fun for me. I enjoyed doing that. But I enjoy teaching probably more. I enjoy interviewing people. Enjoyed having them on and interviewing them and stuff. Yeah, these just like this. Yeah, I mean, 100 and you can get them from 120 to $150. I guess about 130 on average. Um, 2-inch columns, and they work great. I bought two of them because they fit right on that little beverage just fine. And the parts that you get off this, um, the parts that you get off this they're called spools. So this is a pretty, like a couple of feet, almost a foot and a half to almost 2 feet spool. And then you got a sight glass. So that bottom spool, that's about a $20-$30 spool. And then that sight glass is about 20-25 bucks or 30. Then you got a little deflegmator above that, a small little condenser. That's called a deflameter or deflegmator. And that's another 30-40 bucks. Then you got two elbows. That's another 25 bucks for both of those. And then you got a larger condenser over here. This probably sells for 60, 70, $80. And then you got your little drip on the end of it. You add those up, and it's a hell of a lot more than $130 that they average. So, yeah, it's a good little deal. You can get them off eBay. Philbilly, I think, has them. Amazon, But yeah, they do great on a keg. They real well, and you can kind of put your copper mesh inside. I put mine in the sight glass so I can adjust my deflegmator and keep the alcohol dancing right in the middle of that sight glass. And keep it reflux gauged that way, and does quite well. The T Long Whiskey family. That's awesome. Yeah, Philly's got them. Yeah. Yeah, they average from anywhere from 120 to 150, 60 bucks. I'm not sure what he's got on them, but they work wonders. And you buy all those parts separately, it's over 200, 220 bucks or more. If you add it all up, it's a lot more. Teeling. Well, my I guess I don't know exactly what the relative. I guess maybe a great uncle or a second, third cousin. I don't know how it would work. I'm not invested in genealogy, but I guess a cousin. I guess you just call it a cousin. But with Willie Clay Call and the Uncatchable. Read about him, Willie Clay Call. Read about him. Google that name and read about him. Him and Junior Johnson were buddies, and he was a bootlegger and never got caught. They couldn't catch him. He was a motor builder, and Junior tried to get him to come into NASCAR with him, and Willie was like, "No, he just ran that Thunder Road, man. Him and Junior ran that Thunder Road, and Willie Clay, he'd been a great race car driver if he'd have got, but he didn't. It wasn't no part of it. He's running his liquor, and the Calls and the family, they have a distillery now. They're pretty cool. But yeah, that's my grandmother, Willie Clay Call. Well, Clay's his middle name. Call's the last name. Yeah. Yep. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for everybody tuning in. Had a good show tonight. Had a lot of questions, got a lot of questions answered. So I hope those that are viewing and those that will view it and listen to it later enjoy the content and getting some of their questions answered as well. Because everybody has about the same calls, questions. So jump in here and ask them, or wait for somebody else to ask them. I know a lot of people, are worried about jumping in and they don't want to, get their name out there. And I understand, jump on YouTube, create you a YouTube account with a fake name and come on anonymously if you want to do that and ask your questions. That's fine. We don't care. Yep. Yep. So, we encourage people to come in and ask questions and a lot of, like I say, a lot of them ask the same questions other people want to know. So the more we can talk about it and clue them in and that's why I like my long-winded answers, is because I can maybe answer some of their other questions and the whys, and the hows and stuff. So definitely enjoy doing it and enjoy people coming in and thanking us. And, see a lot of people, chime in. we see hundreds of viewers and sometimes thousands. We get thousands, and you're like, who are all these people watching? We never hear from them, and every once in a while they'll jump in and thank you, and that means a lot to us. So appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you all this Saturday at 8 Eastern Standard Time at the same time, same back channel. Till then, everybody shine on. Have a great week, and we'll see you Saturday. Yeah, we're gonna try to get Alan. He'll be back on sometime this month in February. We're gonna work on a date for sure. Yeah, for sure. All right, y'all. Take care. We'll see you. Peace out.